Hello, everybody. This is Rick with Spinal Network and Spinal Network's podcast series. And we have two incredible guests, two friends of mine from the great state of Washington. And we have Kenny Salvini and we have Ian Jedi Mackay. I had to say it.
Nailed it, Rick. You nailed it.
Ian Mackay. And but first, let me just give a little description of myself. I am a mid-60s white male, spinal cord injury who uses a manual wheelchair for mobility. I have, I would like to say this lush afro, but really I've got a little bit of peach fuzz at best. I'm wearing glasses. I have a gray collared shirt on. I have a white background that says Spinal Network, Independence, Resources, and Community. And separating the L in spinal and N in network is a orange, and I call this, with my head out of the way, an orange squiggly, which I believe represents a spinal cord. But it would be a spinal cord that really has a serious scoliosis. So, and with that, if the two of you, and let's start with Ian, because just you're in the upper left, just same, if you could describe yourself and then just give a little background.
Gladly. So I was born back in, I won't go that far back.
Like Kevin.
But first, so I'm a 40-year-old white guy up in Washington State. I do have 6-foot-long dreadlocks, which are impressive, and they do help keep me warm in these winter months of in this northern latitude. So I'm in my home. There is some nice hickory cabinetry behind me, and I have my whole smart home and accessible home behind me. And I'm wearing a beanie at the moment. So I was injured in 2008 on a bicycle riding home from college, going a little fast and hit a tree. Well, I lost control, hit a tree, broke my neck, and I've been a C2, C3 complete quad for the past 13 years. I did my rehab down at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center in Silicon Valley area, and I no longer could live with roommates. And after I broke my neck, so came to live with family up here in Port Angeles, Washington, and that's where I got to meet Kenny Salvini and many other quads up here in the Pacific Northwest. And I run a nonprofit called Ian's Ride that is all about creating a more accessible outdoors. I also I consult with Apple. I've worked with them, since almost 2013, I think now, and it's really an honor to kind of have the ear of the company that provides the independence that I rely on so heavily. But yeah, I'm really glad to be here.
Great, thanks. Kenny.
My turn. Hey guys. Kenny Salvini. I am a early 40s white male with a salt and pepper beard and some thinning dark hair on top. I'm wearing a brown North Face jacket. I've got a joystick mouse in front of my face, and I'm a C3-4 complete quadriplegic from a snow skiing accident. It'll be 18 years, 2 weeks from now. Hit a jump, also going a little bit too fast, and fell about 40 feet onto my head. Broke my neck, my back, and my leg all in one shot. Oh, and I'm in my office. I've got a map of the Here and Now Project membership that I co-founded along with Ian. And there's a lot of baby toys strewn across the floor in my office. So that's the full picture of what you guys may or may not be able to see. I, like Ian, there was an adjustment period that took me quite a long time, and it wasn't until crossing paths with Ian and other close friends of ours now, like Todd Stoppelfelt and others, that I really came out of my shell, and that was what inspired the Here and Now Project. And we are the social support network for the paralysis community in the Pacific Northwest. And our mission is to connect and empower the paralysis community, similar to some of the great work that Rick does with Spinal Network down there in Southern California.
Great, thanks, Kenny.
Yeah.
Ian, you had your ride recently, didn't you, for this for 2021?
Yeah, so generally I do kind of my longer rides on the even years. So 2016, 2018, 2020, but yearly, one of our flagship events that, geez, I'm most proud of is called Sea to Sound. And it covers 75 miles of trail on the Olympic Peninsula up here. And it's just a lot of fun. It covers 3 days. And so many wheelchairs can do 20 to 25 miles in a day. And we provide full support. So we have, wheelchair vans and wheelchair shuttles, and we recruit the local cross country team to come out and help push if any chairs run out of batteries. But it's just an opportunity for people to come out and push their limits, explore the Pacific Northwest and see a really beautiful trail, and do it while you're rolling beside a bunch of other like-minded individuals that want to be outside and want to see what their chair can do, and who just want to be around other folks who feel the same. But yeah, I've done some other really cool ones, and that's what Rick is pushing towards. I know I've ridden my wheelchair across the state of Washington twice, once from north to south, and once from east to west. The second one being over 500 miles, having to climb the Cascades, having to deal with ridiculous heat and fires, and and a lot of chair modifications. It's been a lot of fun. And my history before I was injured was I really enjoyed bike touring. I love being on my bicycle and going long distance, and I really enjoyed stopping at breweries along the way. And I make sure that I always include that in my rides. These days, unfortunately, I can't be on a bike and riding across state anymore, but I can do it my own way. And I reach out to some really good friends, and they're kind of like my crew, and they ride alongside me at 7 miles per hour, and we have a heck of a time. Our most recent one was in 2020, and we did the Redwood Coast. It was 220 miles from kind of the Oregon-California border at Brookings all the way down to Fort Bragg, and a hell of a time. But it can be a little scary on the side of the roads too. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's good to live a little. And as Kenny always says, I think that, we always find, living is really right at the edge of our comfort zone. When we're really, really living, it's always right at the edge of that comfort zone.
Yep.
Yeah, had a lot of fun out there on the sides of roads, and where we got another one coming this year. We might be going from DC to Ohio on the Great American Rail Trail in September. It should be fun stuff.
So what's the elevation on the Cascades when you top out?
So I think it was just over 5,000 feet. So yeah, no, that was a big climb.
Oh yeah,
and even a bigger descent. I'll tell you, it was fun climbing that mountain, but it was not fun going 5,000 feet down. And the interesting thing is that all modern day power wheelchairs actually have regenerative braking.
Mhm.
So that you're actually filling your battery as you're going downhill, which is great, unless your battery is already full, and then it has nowhere to dump that excess energy, and can create some issues where it'll start slowing your motors down, but it'll slow them down on one side rather than the other. They won't be on the same, and so then it's pulling you left and right, and you're trying to stay out of traffic. And it was like a Sunday. There were Sunday drivers, all sorts of campers and motorcycles. A lot of fun, but a little sketchy at times too.
So you co-founded the Here and Now project.
I don't want to take that much credit. I have been involved with the Here and Now project from the beginning, but Kenny, Kenny is the guy behind the scenes here.
I'd beg to differ.
He's so modest.
Yeah, I'd beg to differ that no, it's it was I'd met a handful of high quads before when I'd gotten hurt, but when I met Ian, it was there you can tell just by our injuries that there was a similar history and background that we had, and it was a little bit too geared around questionable decision making. You can tell that hasn't changed. And but yeah, getting connected with Ian, and it was a get together at our friend Todd's house, and there's 7 of us sitting in a circle, and that was I've just taken to calling it for what it was. It was a spiritual experience. That it was this transcendent moment that's like I could see myself in someone else, and the catharsis and release that brought with it was a powerful thing. That now it's become at least my mission to replicate that opportunity for people to step outside of themselves. Because for me, I spent 6 years not wanting to leave the house because I didn't think there was anything out there for me. And yeah, and of course I meet Ian, and he famously told me about this joystick mouse that completely revolutionized the way I use my computer, and really kind of helped me rediscover some of my roots as far as engineering background and some architecture stuff, and allowed me to be a little bit more creative in my own world. And yeah, I think we were just talking before we went live that like Ian's work with Apple and all of this assistive technology, that we're all just one piece of tech away from our full potential, and to be able to create an opportunity like that for people is it's a privilege and it's an honor, and it's been a labor of love, but it's it's work, but it's been really cool. And we're exploring new territory like every year, just kind of like Ian is, and trying to find different places to reach people and different ways to connect. And with the pandemic, thank God we've got this Zoom technology, but it's not quite the same. But in the meantime, we're going to milk it for what we've got.
When I remember going onto your website, and this was back when you went on, the video would pop up, and you could either click out of it or click on it. And I said, I'm going to click on it because who's this, this handsome guy on there, this chiseled face with great hair.
Oh,
and I'm going, that was Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I found, I mean, I was really the video captured my attention without a doubt. I mean, I'm watching this, and everybody that was involved, Ian, I mean, Todd, I mean, all the folks, but it was the story about how the name Here and Now came about. Because all of a sudden you tell this story about boom, and that's how it came about. And I just stopped and went, wow. I mean, that was really a powerful story. I mean, well, I was ready to, zip that wallet out and make that donation. And I did, but I made it to Spinal Network.
Jerk.
Hey, but that's the thing. We're all doing the same work, right?
Yeah.
It's all the same deal. Go ahead.
It was insightful to start with that name, because I think that's something that we learned in that first little picnic was so many people were living for the cure or living out of hope for improvement, and that's great. Yeah. And I really hope that they find that, and we find that. But what's really important is not to let days go by that aren't used, and the here and now really represents that. And I think Kenny saw that from the beginning and created what he created.
I've been injured. Well, let's see, it'll be 46 years in June. Wow. And it was the same thing. I mean, the same thing, and this is back in, well, really 77 when I was through rehab and out and about. But and people just, gonna wait for that cure. And I'm sitting there going, hey, I'm all for a cure, but I don't want to sit here and wait for it. It can catch up to me. I got stuff to do.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was often, and I lucked into having my only peer mentor was Larry LaJoy, and he was this big strapping lad. I remember the first time I met him, I went to this place in Amherst, Massachusetts, called the Stavros House, and it was this little small, but kind of an independent living. So they only had, I think, 3 people living there, but this is where this was the hub where things took place. So I remember going there, and I was going to meet Larry, and the door opens, and this guy rolls in, and he's got one of these big green, parkas, because it's I think February in New England, and he comes in, and he's, as he talks, this big, deep, booming voice, and I'm sitting there, and then they introduce it. He comes over and takes his glove off and puts his hand out, and I shake his hand, and my hand just it disappears into this big ham hock of a hand, and I'm sitting there going, and it was just one of these things, though. We just connected, became best friends, and he unfortunately passed from bladder cancer. It was 2 weeks after my twins were born, and they just turned 24. So actually, you know what? Today's what, the 8th? It was 4 days ago. So 24 years ago on the 24th, which is my oldest son's birthday, he passed away from bladder cancer, and which is so prevalent with cord injuries. So, but yeah, he taught me how to go downstairs, how to go up and down escalators, we did whatever because people said we couldn't do it,
And those life skills need to be shared, right? I mean, none of us need to try to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
And where do we
Yeah.
do that? And
Yep.
it's just nice to have a central location and different states, different areas where
Yeah.
people can learn from each other.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like, I mean, you're up in Washington, we're down, primarily in the San Diego area, but there's just this connection, like we're kindred spirits, and we really work because we truly believe in what we're doing. And we're not trying to blow smoke up anybody, we're just trying to go and do what we feel is right to create an environment for people to discover themselves or rediscover themselves sometimes,
Because we've experienced it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's been our experience. When it's your lived experience, there's no stronger testimony to that that it's not. This isn't to look good at cocktail parties.
Yeah.
This is because my life depends on it. Because the next person I meet could change my life, right?
Yeah.
Like even today, like there's so much stuff. I remember I showed up to do peer support. I think it was probably 2013 or 14 to talk to some 21-year-old kid about his new spinal cord injury. And this was pre-switch control and all the different assistive technology that was out there. I was messing around with some Motorola tablet at the time. And I was working with an Invacare guy, Mike Badanek, and we were trying to figure out how the heck we access some of this rudimentary controls we were using. And this 21-year-old kid, he's like, yeah, that's just an Android setting. You just got to click here. And then we're like, oh, God. Yeah, and it's like, here's somebody that's 30 days out of their spinal cord injury, and they know something that I don't, right? It's just, and that will never end.
Yeah. Let's hope.
But I think another big reason that we do it is that we've been there, right? We've been in those trenches. It was so difficult. And we don't want the people that come after us to have the same challenges, right?
Yeah.
Anything we can do to make that easier,
Absolutely.
to make that transition easier.
Yeah.
It sucks. And please, I hope the next generation has it easier than us.
Right.
And of course, and I don't want to say everybody because it's not everybody, but for the most part, I mean, they'll look at Ian, they'll look at Kenny, they'll look at me, and oh gosh, these poor guys. and it would, if we could, well, I take that back. I'd say if we could go back, would we change it? And I say no, because if you change that, then everything that comes after that disappears, and that would be including my wonderful wife Karen and the 3 kids and all. So life is not horrible. Life is sometimes fun. Sometimes it can actually be fun.
Good God,
and there's the opportunities. I mean, opportunities. I just remember I met I met Ian, and may have met, I don't know, Kenny, if I met you the year before, and then I think I met Ian the next year.
Yeah, I bet you in 2015, I think, when I'd come down for the chapter leadership meeting with United Spinal. I think you'd come up. I think that was one of the times that my chair had been destroyed.
Yeah,
And
just one of the times. Yeah,
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was the time before I flew. You know, I had 2 road trips in a row trying to hook up with you guys, that things fell apart, and then
Yeah.
I decided to fly, but that's a whole other podcast. But yeah, and then I mean, did you guys meet out in Vegas or in
thought we
DC?
met. I thought we met in DC at the Roll.
It was DC. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have been 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, and it was, I don't know how much later. It couldn't have been too much later than that. I just remember, you know, we're in the living room watching TV, and a commercial comes on, and it's an Apple commercial, and it's going through, and all of a sudden I look and go, "Son of a bitch!" And I go, "Oh, we're not editing." Oh well, yeah. And I go, "That's Ian. I know Ian. That's Ian."
Yep.
So I stop it, and then, you know, love technology. Rewind it to get to that point, play it again. I said, I'm telling the kids, "Look at his dreads. Look at those dreads."
It was an honor. I mean, that was a huge honor, and to be, you know, played on the NBA finals and the NHL finals. It was, yeah, that was a really big deal. And also being able to announce to the world voice control, which was a technology that changed our lives. I mean, that revolutionized the way that we use our phones and our mobile
Mhm.
devices. But yeah, you know, you were talking about would we change things? Hell no, Rick. I mean, yeah, it's been rough, you know, not having any movement or sensation below the neck. But the stuff that I've been able to do in 13 years, the person
Yeah.
that I am today is shaped by what happened 13
Yeah.
years ago, and
Yeah.
the people I've met and the experiences I've had, I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and people really, I think they think, "Oh, he's in denial." Yeah, it's been 45 years. I'm still in denial. So, you know, someday I'll come to grips with this, but, you know, who knows?
But I mean, if you don't have a wrinkle in your life, you don't have
Yeah.
a reason to grow.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's got a loss of some sort and a setback of whatever. And yeah, those challenges are what help define us. They give us something to kind of grind off the softer parts of us and find out who we are. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, Kenny, you had mentioned the older technology back then, and Ian with the commercial with new technology. And so let's toss this one out. So how has assistive technology, and for those who aren't sure what assistive technology is, you can explain that as well, if you'd like, or not. And what type of impact has it had on your life?
Oh man. Well, I mean, assistive technology can be anything. You got assistive technology on your face, Rick. You got glasses on, right? Like that's how it starts.
Yep.
You know, you know, there's anything that increases your independence by any stretch of the imagination is assistive technology. Hell, hiking boots can be assistive technology, right? You know, and it's anything. And yeah, like I said, like you're one piece of technology away from your full potential. Before this call, I was on a Zoom call with a company that's developed glasses that my 95-year-old grandmother can use to see people's faces for the first time in 10 years because she's got macular degeneration. And it's like, you know, like there's not a price, there's no way to even measure those kind of metrics to the improvement of stuff. And the fact that like I get to hear about, you know, well, I don't get to hear about most things because Ian's got a lot of NDAs that he's got to sign, but I get to hear how much work he puts in to the voice control. And like, you know, like that was 2018, right? That dropped. And it was, you know, like, I mean,
2019.
2019, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it was, but this was something that was in the years in the making, and is years since that he's constantly checking bugs, and not just for the voice technology. Like you become an expert at, and you saw
Accessibility.
that.
Just
Yeah,
accessibility.
yeah, you really saw that in the 2016 kind of suite of videos that came out with all of the Apple stuff, because they have things that manual wheelchair users can use. They've got screen readers. They've got things for the deaf community and
Well, an
everything.
Apple Watch, right, for manual
Right.
wheelchairs and just tracking
Mhm.
exercise.
Yeah. Even before, because I just found this out, because I had this app on my phone, map my run. So when I was out doing my pushes, the only thing I would be concerned about was the distance and the time. Because when they say, oh, you burned this many calories. Oh, no, I didn't. You don't know how many calories I burned. Well, then I find out that Apple had been working with some groups, and they had their own app, and which was just, so far beyond
To
these
track
others.
pushes, right? To track pushes.
Yeah. So
Yeah. No, it is. It's amazing. And so I up until 4 years ago, lived with my parents. So in my parents' house, in a little tiny room that we modified 13 years ago so that I could come home. And it didn't even have a door. I mean, I had a shower curtain for my door, and very little adaptive technology, and my independence was just so pitiful. And we finally were able to build this home that I'm in now, and make it completely designed around my needs, and make it a complete smart home. And yeah, great. All the smart technology is cool, but it's the little things that are awesome. It's having a little spatula that I can drive up to and get my pills off when it's that time, or get a bite of a granola bar just to keep the hunger away for the day. Whatever. Those little things are awesome. But the biggest thing for me was just having a door opener. Once I could open the damn door on my own, it's like, what have I been doing? I've been stuck inside waiting for someone to open a door for me to get in or out over and over. And now I'm in and out 50 times a day just because why not? But yeah, I mean, the other stuff is spectacular too. Voice recognition software, be it Dragon Naturally Speaking, be it voice control, those allow us to be productive. Those allow us to really pump out documents and content, and be really productive members of the society. But it's more than that too. It's a confidence. It's a happidness. It's being able to send your girlfriend or your wife a loving message. It's been able to photograph birds, or me to identify birds by their call by using an app on my phone that's super simple to do using Siri or voice control or switch or whatever. Um, it, and just seeing the diversity of options out there, even things like Neuralink now, right? I mean, you're cutting holes in heads, and you're gonna have direct access there. Who knows where it's gonna go? And I know I'm not signing up for that, but I love opportunities, and I think the more options that people have, the more opportunities for independence that'll provide for them.
it seemed like, there were a couple major breakthroughs, but once those occurred, then the snowball was heading full steam down the hill, because then all of a sudden it was like bam, 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 things were popping everywhere. I was fortunate enough, when we were putting our assistive technology loan closet together, I was able to talk with both of you to see what you used and what you recommended, so that we had an idea and to go and what to purchase. And then after that, I saw this this device from a Glass House, and it was like a pair of glasses without the lens, and it was just, you turn your head, and you could either use a bite switch or a little puff switch or whatever. And but I thought, oh, it's brand new, I don't like to go with that. But as I checked around with people I knew who had a chance to review it, clinicians, and they said, this is the real deal. So we gambled, we spent $1,000 and got one. And going out, I believe it's next week, trial it with my friend Dominic, who's a C3 complete event dependent quad.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we're going to be able to put chips in people's heads and access who knows what in the near future. And I always kind of throw back to that Andrew Garfield movie Breathe, about the guy with polio that's on a ventilator and basically invents the first wheelchair with a vent on it. And I mean, this was 1965. This was not 150 years ago. This was, within basically our generation and the one before his lifetimes, right? That it's just, and there's a scene where he goes to Switzerland or something, and he goes into this ward where it's literally like 5 wide and 3 stacked high of iron lungs of people sitting there with the only assistive technology they had to keep alive was an iron lung and a mirror so they could see and talk to each other, right?
Usually a mouth stick. I think maybe a mouth stick.
Mouth stick, right? But shoot, like just even myself, I've become a slave to some of the fancier technologies and not embraced some of the lower tech stuff. And but I think back to my early days that more than independence, it was more self-actualization, that getting access to Dragon, and for me it started with writing, that I could write my way kind of out, that I could find my identity a little bit. And so starting my blog and doing that was kind of my first foray into
the importance of self-expression, right?
Yeah, just being able to express yourself, and and like the little things, like Ian's incredible late grandfather who just passed made me a card holder that I get to play cribbage with my wife. That we set this stuff up and we play it by myself. We a couple of years ago it dawned on me I wanted to do puzzles with my wife, so I strapped a laser pointer to a pair of glasses. That's all it takes. And we just got a piano because our daughter loves to make noise, and I broke down and bought a mouse stick. And so now I'm playing short little, I could play Yesterday from the Beatles on the piano, and it's like,
you gotta
it's all those little
video
things.
of that would be
Yeah.
Show off.
Yeah.
Show off over there.
It's not good.
It's a little
It's
show
terrible.
pain.
It's passable. It's not. But
You're not going on tour, anytime.
no, I'm not going to be opening for Billy Joel anytime soon. I don't think so. No.
But it is interesting that we've gotten, so reliant on the higher tech, and I am so slow on an on-screen keyboard these days, just because I use dictation so much. And then let's say I've got people in my house and it's loud, and my dictation is useless when that noise is the problem, and then I'm trying to type away and it's like hunt and peck. It's sad watching me type now. I feel like it'd be a good exercise to utilize some low tech stuff once in a while.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, that it's that fascinating thing that we all, I think that's anybody out in the world these days, that we're all slave to the newer tech than the old. And I think about, folks like Todd, high quads from an early age, that his penmanship with a pen in his mouth is pretty damn good. And mine, I can't even sign my name, right? And I've seen Ian's painting with a paintbrush in his mouth, and I've got other friends like Glenn Dick out in Philadelphia, just does incredible things with just the low tech stuff.
Yeah. We have a young man down here, Jesus Montoya, who when we were towards the end of the year doing fundraising things, and he's got a number of paintings, and he donated one that we were able to auction off. And mouth painter, and he's part of this, I think it's an international organization of mouth painters.
Yeah.
And wow, yeah.
There's some spectacular. I think it's foot and mouth painters is what it is. It's International Foot and Mouth Painting Association.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool what they can do. And yeah, and just another way to express yourself and,
Yeah.
be creative.
Yeah.
I had mentioned when we were talking before we started the recording, how, I got the notification on my phone. We had 10 minutes before we were to start, and it came up, Crazy Quad podcast. And
Yeah, buddy.
I just, when I thought of having this podcast with the two of you, I mean, that's the first thing that just came to mind. This is just the Crazy Quad podcast. I'm just, I'm a sandwich, and, I'm the middle of the sandwich because I got the two crazy quads on either side of me. And this was going to be informative, but it was going to be fun. So I got a question for each of you. So let's start with Kenny, since I started with Ian before. So Kenny, tell me probably the craziest story that you have about Ian.
Ooh.
It won't land him in jail.
Geez.
I mean, there are so many, that, and to have been kind of riding his coattails on a handful of these rides. The first one coming north to south from Victoria down to Portland, I hooked up for 17 miles. There were, I think it was because it was me, you, and Jesse, wasn't it? Mainly, for the most part. So I can't remember who else hooked up with us.
For what?
But,
Which one?
Just coming through Auburn when you're going to Portland. We went to the powerhouse.
Yeah. It was the three of us, I think.
Yeah. And that was the first kind of glimpse I got into longer rides with lots of wheelchairs and the potential danger that can come with that. Because we wound up, getting to a handful of crosswalks, and we've got mode switches that'll be hard stops for some of our chairs, especially mine. And I'm quite a bobblehead in my chair, and so I've hit my emergency brake in front of people and been slammed into, and vice versa. But yeah, the one of Ian's, for me, probably the craziest one was there's two probably that, watching him disappear into some blackberry bushes off the side of the trail in 2020, I think that was.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, in 2020. It was that was that the first Sea to Sound, right?
No, 2019.
Was it? Gosh, they're all blended together. But I was trailing along. I was committed to ride the whole 76 miles or whatever. I only made it a couple short because my batteries ran low on this day. But yeah, we'd done a really big hill climb, and we were kind of up in the thick of the national forest, and we're surrounded by a good support team, bicycles everywhere, but yeah, Ian's sitting there probably working his phone and jabbering while he's should be paying attention to his sip and puff a little bit, and his front wheel gets caught and drags him off the trail and disappears into the bush. And I'm like, I'm watching my friend die today, right? But thankfully, they were able to drag him out in one piece. I got it on video just because what are friends for? And and then the only other crazy story was when my wife Claire and I and Ian decided to go through a wildlife preserve, and Ian decided he was going to feed. Was it a reindeer, or was it? Because
I don't know, was it an elk or a moose? Who knows what that?
Well, the moose was there. I didn't realize that we weren't supposed to actually feed the bison and the buffalo because they scratched the hell out of what is now Ian's van with all these friggin' barnacles they got under their chin, just scratching the hell out of the paint as we're feeding these animals. But yeah, of course, Ian's got to step it up a notch and be like, hey, put a piece of bread in my mouth, and I want to feed. I'm pretty sure it was a reindeer or like antelope or something, and this thing reaches in. Yeah, caribou, that's what it was. And the caribou reached in and took it out of his face. And that's that's Ian in a nutshell. He loves his outdoors.
Yeah, seems like Kenny's got a lot of more Ian doing
I'm
stupid
the
stuff.
sane one. I'm the sane one on this one.
Yeah, I know this is a lot more difficult for me because yeah, I don't have crazy stories about Kenny as other than running into him more times than I'd like to admit. The damn guy stops all the time
Yeah.
when I'm riding behind him. But he's run into me a time or two, so I've been guilty there. But no, I think for Kenny, I've just more been admired him over the years just because he's got some skills when it comes to talking with people, right? I mean, he is very talented at bringing people together, making people feel very comfortable, making people be willing to express vulnerability and to be real and honest. I've seen a lot of that in all these damn meetings that we're in together over the years. But and I've got to see him go through. I got to see him meet Claire. I got to see him, develop that relationship, get married, and then having Isla, and then seeing a successful quad navigate the life of having children and balancing that with being successful in other ways in life is impressive. And I could not do it. There is no way that I could do that. But yeah, no, I think that's been a big thing. Sure, I could. We talked about that van. I couldn't have done any of the rides that I did without having a vehicle to get me around, and I could not afford a vehicle at that time. And Kenny did. He didn't like the trade-in value they were going to give him for his new van, and I ended up being the recipient of it, and that's been what's allowed me to do.
I was dumping it off on him because I knew he was going to have a problem.
God, it's a pain in the
and
ass.
now it does. And now
Such
it does.
a pain.
It's falling apart.
And I am so grateful to have it too. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without it. But no, and also just someone that shows up, right? And I've been with Todd, but with all of us, is that Kenny shows up, and that's the important thing is that when events are going on or when friends are needed, he's there. I remember was it your 40th birthday party that no, it couldn't have been.
No, it wasn't
35th.
because the 40th was during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like your
Is that
35th.
35th? Was that the surprise party?
Is that the lake? Is it Lake Taps?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember just being there, being around all your close friends, and just always felt like a really special moment. And
Yeah.
but also then your wedding, same thing with the wedding. I got to be in the wedding and seeing how all that went down. Yeah. I've got some great crazy stories of me doing really stupid stuff, but the heartfelt memories I have involve Kenny.
Man, you left your wedding speech wide open right there.
Oh geez. All right. So yeah, there was the wedding speech, which right before, like, it must have been the year before. Was the year before?
No, year was 2015. We got married in
Okay.
2018. So.
Okay. Well, he had a variety of hairstyles. He went with a man bun for a while. He went with a yard that went down to his belly button. I would say a ridiculous, ugly looking beard, but he sported it for a full year.
Bad hair choices. That's what it is.
And we also had one other.
Did you have a mullet at some point?
It wasn't quite a mullet. I don't
It might as
remember.
well have been. There's lots of
But one other man in the wedding party, Jesse Collins, also was in a chair, and he also had questionable hair decisions. But during my wedding speech, I said, "Listen, Claire, I just really want to thank you for accepting, folks like Kenny and Jesse and I. It's difficult to love us, and I recognize that. And I'm not talking about the paralysis. I'm talking about the bad hair decisions that you've had to put up with and tolerate. And yeah, that was the joke at the wedding, was that we all have had bad hair decisions. I just keep going with it. This is the thing.
Yeah. Oh, and that's my other. Yeah. I have the distinct I don't know if I still hold the distinct honor to own one of Ian's dreadlocks.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yep, that is a distinction I hold. I think it was my 39th birthday. He sent me some
I was
ram
there.
mounts.
No, I came. I was at
Oh, that's right. You met me at University of Washington
yeah.
to deliver some ram mount products. Yet another piece of assistive technology. Ian has been on the ground level of implementation and development, and he brought me some stuff and wrapped it in his very own chunk of dreadlock that he had run over. And yeah,
human hair. It's a great gift. People love it.
Yep. So I'm putting it up just because.
Oh geez.
I mean, it's got to be up there. That this was when we got to meet you, Rick. I believe that in DC somewhere. It was 2018 on our trip to DC. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a bad hair bromance. There's lots of bad decisions, and I'm paying the price for it now because now it's fighting me and falling out. So
that and children, they'll do it.
yep.
So, well, I had mentioned in the beginning that I had a question that I wasn't going to mention or let you know what it was until later, because it was kind of a fun question. And but we've got to do this whole thing with there always seems to be this competition, paras versus quads. So let's have that discussion on because it always seems that when it comes up, I'm in a room that's predominantly higher level injury folks, and yeah, and I certainly don't have a leg to stand on. So if we're going to talk about this, we might as well have the bad jokes and puns too.
As the highest quad on the screens here, I like to call Kenny the poser collegiate. Really, I mean he's barely even a high quad.
Right. I don't have a trach. Now that's a coin or a term we coined a while ago. That you're getting behind the curtain a little bit too much.
Oh geez.
It's I mean it's all in love, but it is. And it's almost a solidarity thing too, because there is, there are levels to this thing just because, and the interesting thing is through both of our travels, and you just when you think you've got a bad situation, you get to meet someone that's doing more with less. And Ian and I both got to spend some time with Earl Powdrell in DC before he passed. And to meet a NASA rocket scientist that has a stroke in his brainstem and is completely locked in. And to watch him and his wife accepting the award for Advocate of the Year,
him giving a speach.
A powerful speech.
My gosh, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the place.
It
was just such a powerful speech, and he had, and I just thought about how much time it must have taken Earl to put that together. And I had asked, so Kathy, did you help a lot with that? And she was saying, no, it was just hours putting that speech together.
You think about the eye movement required for all that, right? I mean, how much eyes were moving around.
But we're all poser collegiates in that realm.
Oh yeah.
Right?
But back to that, because of Kenny, I've had the opportunity, and because of COVID, that we've had these virtual support groups that we've got at least 6 a month that we're on every single month, and you're hearing from all these other individuals, and we tease that I'm the high quad and it's more difficult, but there are plenty of paras and folks that struggle more with their day and things that I would not want to deal with. Just putting socks on, transferring 25 times a day. There's 100 things out there that are so difficult. We were talking recently in a group about we all have our issues, our problems, and if we all came to a table all this different quads at different levels, and we put our problems in front of us on the table. And then we all sat around and looked around. We'd end up leaving with our same problem. We don't want to deal with some of these other problems that people deal with. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's challenging having to sleep on a ventilator and
Mhm.
have respiratory issues that I'm managing with. But I know how to manage those.
Yeah.
And some of these other challenges that I witnessed, I really feel for people, and that, neuropathy. I am so
Oh,
thankful that I don't have neuropathy, and that can be a bane of people's
oh
existence.
man, it's yeah, and as years go by, it gets worse. And now I've got issues with my feet where I'm really not able to control the swelling in my feet, even with compression socks. And and I kept going, well, I'm getting these weird things. And then there's times when I'll sweat below my level of injury, but only on my right side. And the physiatrist at the time that I was working with, Dr. Skalski, he was just chatting, and he goes, well, you mentioned swelling in your feet. I said, yeah. He goes, well, take your shoes off. So I took the shoes off and the socks, and he's looking, goes, oh my gosh. And he's squeezing them, and he goes, if you had normal sensation, do you know how painful this would be?
Right.
And he goes, that's what's causing this. I mean, it's your body's pain response to this.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm not really able to. So it's daily. And when it begins to act up, I've had times when, okay, I get out to my office here at home and it's 6:30, and by 6:40, I've already got a foot that's beginning to create issues. And I'm going, really, at 10 minutes into my day, and then other days when, I go hours before, or it's late afternoon before it gets,
Right.
begins to kick in. Um, so yeah. And you know what, there was a friend of mine, Fred, who he was just incredible spasms. And he finally decides, okay, I've had enough. And he gets his insurance company to agree to a bilateral above knee amputation.
Mhm.
And he thinks this is going to take care of it.
Mm.
Well, no, he still gets the spasms. They
Right.
just don't go down to his feet, but
Yep.
they still disrupt his day. So I'm
Yes.
thinking, oh, okay, that didn't work out.
Yep. It's the whole idea that this too shall pass, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
yeah, because we've got members that were ambulatory for 25 years with incomplete spinal cord injuries, but aging and gravity is coming for you, and things are going to change,
Yeah.
and it just makes me think of that. I don't know if you guys watched that Sound of Metal movie. It's about a man who's deaf, and he is hell bent on getting a cochlear implant. And he was a musician. He was a drummer for a rock band, and he winds up getting the cochlear implant, and the kind of solution it gives him is just excruciating. It's not he can hear things, but it sounds very metallic and robotic, and it's not anything like it was. And there's almost a beauty in the finding the comfort where you're at and the acceptance of where you're at.
Hoping the
Yeah.
grass is always greener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can remember we being a big group, and this was, we were way back when we were at a wheelchair tennis tournament, I believe. And it was just a group of just quite a diverse group. And it was, going, high quads want to be low quads, and low quads want to be high paras, and high paras want to be low paras, and low paras want to be amputees. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I see the irony in that, really, because I don't think that really, you're not going to get a lot of people that are going to buy into that whole thing. But
Well, I did temporarily early on, yeah, like that's how I felt, because that's all I could see was the differences.
yeah,
And the differences I perceive, right? Like our good friend Cody, who is a C4-5, and he's got a little bit of arm function, but then seeing how excruciating it becomes to use those arms, and how tiring it is, and like how it's like, man, I'd be doing more, and it's like my muscles fatigue quicker than you think they should,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so it's, yeah, that idea that somebody's going to have something that has it easier than you do is probably
Yeah.
not true.
In those early days, it's easy to think like that too. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
man, if someone like you, Rick, came into that hospital room and tried to, tell me everything's gonna be all right.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
don't worry.
what do you know? I mean, look at you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, even if someone came in that didn't have use of their arms and they were on their ventilator, I still was noticing the differences rather than the similarities.
Yeah.
It just takes time to recognize,
Yeah.
what really is different and what matters.
And they used to talk about, well, this is what you can look forward to, shoulders, blah, blah, blah. And that's about it, because that's all they knew, because that was the life expectancy, but then all of a sudden when, I remember I hit that mid-30 mark post-injury, and then I'm, moving towards the 40 mark, and I'm realizing, wait a minute, what about this other stuff that you didn't mention? What about the elbows and my thumbs and and this and that, and and now I'm, I hit 45 years, and my body is just getting tired. I mean, it's just getting tired. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I mean, okay, I can go out and do a morning push to keep my respiratory system, more of a peak than it is. And but is it really going to, I mean, how much of a positive effect is that going to have versus, what I'm doing to my shoulders when I'm going out and pushing 2 or 3 miles?
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, now everything is, okay, here's the scale, how do I keep it in balance?
Well, and it's weird that we almost in our minds separate our injury into a different silo than aging. We don't understand that they're happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That like I'm 10 years out. Oh, well, I'm also in my 30s.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like, well, I've been at this 30 years. Yeah, I figured a lot of stuff out, but entropy is still a real thing, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in April, I hit 67. I'll hit 67. And in June, I hit 46 years. And I'm not sure which one is kicking my butt more, and then it's certainly a combination of, but yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah. The clock doesn't only tick on one side of that.
Yeah. No, we got to remember that was injured in 1963. And just turned 77 and still showing up with an incredible attitude, but didn't show up until 3-4 years ago, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now he is one of our most
reliable,
steadily attendant ones, because
That's
powerful stuff.
interesting.
Look at that, we made it to an hour.
We did.
35
We did.
minutes. Give me
Yes.
a break. I know
Yes.
us.
I know. I say that. I don't even know why I say that. I should just say when we're done, we're done.
Yeah. Well, then we'd be
So,
done on Alpha 31st.
was,
You want to be able to get your stuff done.
There was a lot of good stuff. There really was a lot of good stuff here. And and what I'll do, so I will, I'll upload this over the weekend, and by Monday, well, actually over the weekend, but no later than Monday, it'll be available, and I'll send you both the link, and the link takes you to a page that has the link to each platform, because it goes on to Spotify and to Apple and to Google and Amazon, and I think there's one Cashbox or Crashbox or something, and Breaker, and which Breakers,
All the apps these kids play with these days.
which I had no idea. We use Canva, and which later on it says, oh, here's the RSS file, and then it listed all these places, so it was just easy to go and click on the portal and set it up.
I just need to know how many minutes it's going to take off my AOL on Netscape. No, nothing.
too old. That was just too old.
Nobody that listens to this is even going to know what the hell I'm talking about.
I do, but
I'll happily share. What I won't do is listen, because I absolutely cannot listen to myself talk.
You know what? I have not listened to one, but my wife has, and And I have friends that do, and I'm glad because they give me the feedback.
Yeah.
Because, my wife, in fact, she must watch it because she'll go, just what I'm doing right here. She'll go, you need to stop leaning. Whoop.
Right. Right.
So then I'll do this because at least if I'm leaning, I'm leaning forward. And so
I wish I could lean.
I'm usually got my head way forward, but yeah, no, it's good stuff, Rickman. So always fun to hop on here and talk about you guys. But yeah, it is hard to listen because I've only got like 7 stories and everybody's heard them. Right? It's just like, okay, there's Kenny telling the same crap again.
I'm going to be stopping the recording, but please stay on. So,
Perfect.
but thanks both of you. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to be a guest on here. And I say guest on here, but really, to me, I was so looking forward to this. To me, it was, just 3 friends getting on here and getting a chance just to chat. So and have some fun. So
Cool stuff.
Good seeing you, Rick.
Catch you on the flip side, man.
okay, so thanks everybody who's here listening and who may be on YouTube watching. Thanks so much for supporting and giving us some of your time. Thanks.